If the Priestess of the Moon learns the passive skill of stealing attributes, she will automatically steal a point of all attributes from the enemy hero every second. In this case, which heroes can defeat the Priestess of the Moon? All challengers lose a point of all attributes every second, while the Priestess of the Moon gains a point of all attributes every second, until one of them dies, or their attributes are drained by the Priestess of the Moon, at which point the process will stop. The challenge match is now officially starting. The video will be sped up to double speed. The first contestant to appear is the Farseer. Friendly reminder, there will be no corpses provided in this challenge match, and both contestants are prohibited from avoiding battles on the field. As long as the Priestess of the Moon falls, it will be considered a successful challenge. The Farseer fails the challenge. The second contestant, the Tauren Chieftain, appears. The Tauren Chieftain fails the challenge. The third contestant, the Shadow Hunter, appears. The Shadow Hunter fails the challenge. The fourth contestant, the Blade Master, appears. The Blade Master succeeds in the challenge. The fifth contestant, the Lick, appears. The Lick fails the challenge. The sixth contestant, the Crypt Lord, appears. The Crypt Lord fails the challenge. The seventh contestant, the Dread Lord, appears. The Dread Lord succeeds in the challenge. The Priestess of the Moon asks for a rematch. This time he decides to change his strategy. The Priestess of the Moon plans to eliminate the Infernal first, and then deal with the Dread Lord. After all, as time goes on, the Dread Lord's final combat power may not even be as good as a PoM. As long as the Dread Lord doesn't die, he will continue to be the Priestess of the Moon's cultivation material, until he is drained dry. The Dread Lord fails the challenge. However, the Infernal also asks for a change of strategy and another try. A strange scene appeared on the scene. The Infernal directly slapped his master to death. However, now the Priestess of the Moon can't steal attributes anymore. However, the Infernal also lost the vampiric aura, and in the end, he was still unable to stand alone, and failed to succeed in the challenge. After a discussion between the Dread Lord and the Infernal, they decided to challenge this one last time. When the Dreadlord had only a sliver of health left, he successfully summoned the Infernal. After the Infernal landed, he immediately killed his master, and finally the Dreadlord succeeded in the challenge. The 8th contestant, the Death King, appears. The Death King fails the challenge. The 9th contestant, the Naga Sea Witch, appears. The Naga Sea Witch fails the challenge. The 10th contestant, the Tinker, appears.
Terminated. Yes. Let's go out.
The Tinker fails the challenge. The 11th contestant, Akama, appears. Since Akama is an intelligence hero, his mana is quite sufficient. Coupled with his amazing burst output, he eventually succeeds in the challenge. The 12th contestant, the Alchemist, appears. The Alchemist fails the challenge. The 13th contestant, the Mountain King, appears. At the beginning of the show, the Mountain King had already failed the challenge. This time he tried again without using his ultimate. And the result was slightly better than last time, but still failed the challenge. The 14th contestant, the Blood Mage, appears. This is probably the only way to defeat the Priestess of the Moon. The Blood Mage succeeds in the challenge. The 15th contestant, the Paladin, appears. The Paladin fails the challenge. The 16th contestant, the Archmage, appears. This round of challenge failure does not mean a complete farewell to the arena. In the next round of the competition, all the failed contestants will have their attributes increased by 10 levels, and see how many people will still fail the challenge. The Archmage fails the challenge. The 17th contestant, the Demon Hunter, appears. The Demon Hunter fails the challenge. The 18th contestant, the Warden, appears. The Warden fails the challenge. The 19th contestant, the Keeper of the Grove, appears. The Keeper of the Grove fails the challenge. The 20th contestant, Garithos, appears. Garithos fails the challenge. The 21st contestant, the Pandaren Brewmaster, appears. The Pandaren Brewmaster succeeds in the challenge. The 22nd contestant, the Pit Lord, appears. The Pit Lord fails the challenge. The 23rd contestant, Beastmaster, appears. Beastmaster intends to completely copy the Dreadlord strategy. The output is still not enough. Beastmaster fails the challenge. The 24th contestant, the Fire Lord, appears. The Fire Lord fails the challenge. The last contestant, the Dark Ranger, appears. The Dark Ranger fails the challenge. After the first round of the competition, only 5 people succeeded in the challenge. Next, all the contestants in the loser group will have their attributes increased by 10 levels, and challenge again, and see how many people still can't succeed in the challenge. Next, the video will be sped up to triple speed. The Mountain King succeeds in the challenge. The Paladin fails the challenge. Garithos fails the challenge. The Demon Hunter fails the challenge. As the contestants' level attributes increase, the Priestess of the Moon's primary target also becomes the hero himself. The Warden succeeds in the challenge. The Death King fails the challenge. The Crypt Lord fails the challenge. The Lick fails the challenge. The Tauren chieftain fails the challenge. The Farseer succeeds in the challenge. The Shadow Hunter fails the challenge. The Dark Ranger fails the challenge. The Tinker fails the challenge. The Beastmaster succeeds in the challenge. The Firelord fails the challenge. The Alchemist succeeds in the challenge. The Naga Sea Witch fails the challenge. The Pit Lord fails the challenge. As for the F4, the Archmage and the Keeper of the Grove, they have already announced their surrender in advance, and are preparing to start with level 30. In this case, after the second round of the competition, when everyone is at level 20, there are still only 5 people who succeed in the challenge, and 15 people fail the challenge. Next, the loser group's attributes will continue to be increased to level 30. The purpose of this episode of the show is very clear, which is to explore each contestant's limits and bottom lines. The third round of the competition officially begins. The Tauren chieftain succeeds in the challenge. The Shadow Hunter succeeds in the challenge. The Archmage fails the challenge. Garithos succeeds in the challenge. The paladin fails the challenge. The Death King succeeds in the challenge. The Lick succeeds in the challenge. The Crypt Lord succeeds in the challenge. The Demon Hunter succeeds in the challenge. Another Priestess of the Moon suddenly appeared on the scene to participate in the challenge. The Priestess of the Moon fails the challenge. The Keeper of the Grove succeeds in the challenge. The Fire Lord succeeds in the challenge. The Pit Lord succeeds in the challenge. The Dark Ranger fails the challenge. The Tinker's agility attribute is too low. After the agility is drained, the strength attribute becomes completely useless. The Naga Sea Witch succeeds in the challenge. I didn't expect that even after reaching level 30, there are still 5 contestants who failed the challenge. Next, the Archmage, the Priestess of the Moon, the Tinker, the Dark Ranger, and the Paladin. Their level will continue to be increased to level 40. In this case, will anyone continue to fail the challenge? The 4th round of the competition officially begins. The first contestant, the Archmage, appears. The Archmage succeeds in the challenge. The second contestant, the Priestess of the Moon, appears. The Priestess of the Moon succeeds in the challenge. The third contestant, the Paladin, appears. The Paladin succeeds in the challenge. The 4th contestant, the Tinker, appears. The Tinker succeeds in the challenge. The last contestant, the Dark Ranger, appears. In the end, the level 3 Dark Ranger defeated the level 10 Priestess of the Moon. In the end, the level 10 Priestess of the Moon defeated the level 40 Dark Ranger. Finally, let's see if the level 1 Dark Ranger can beat the level 10 Priestess of the Moon. Finally, let's see if the level 10 Priestess of the Moon can beat the level 50 Dark Ranger. In the end, the Dark Ranger defeated the Priestess of the Moon at level 50. She is the contestant with the highest level requirement among all the contestants. If the Priestess of the Moon can't steal attributes, the Dark Ranger is the contestant who can defeat the Priestess of the Moon with the lowest level among all the contestants. From highest to lowest, doesn't it feel very magical? This competition is over. The final scores of all the contestants are shown in the figure. Thank you for watching this episode, Warcraft Cricket Fighting, joy every episode. I'm Gongsun Yuliang, see you next time.